Hi everyone, this is Emily Leiphart from Art from the Heart. I'm so excited to be part of Justine Hovey's second annual Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. You can read more about this video hop on my blog and you can find that link below. I'm featuring the Coffee Soarer stamp set by Gerda Steiner Designs. As you can see, I have 2 copies, so I'm giving away one of them, and I'll provide more details at the end of this video. I've done a few videos using Gerda Steiner products in the past, and you can find all of those on my YouTube channel. I love their whimsical illustrations and tend to do storybook watercoloring with them, and that's exactly what I'll be doing today. I'm going to feature the mirror stamping technique, but as a water reflection. It's a mirror of the image flipped on the horizontal plane instead of the vertical plane, so I'm going to give this technique a new name called reflection stamping. This technique is best done with a larger image, and this adorable coffee-drinking T-Rex is the perfect size for it. I'm going to start by explaining what I want to accomplish with this image. He'll be standing at the edge of the water drinking his coffee, and I want to stamp a flipped mirror image of him in the water. Obviously, I can't do that with this stamp just as it is, because simply flipping the panel upside down and restamping it would put his nose and tail at opposite ends of the upright image. This panel is quite big because I don't know how to cut down the final image just yet. Working on a larger piece of cardstock will allow me to center the image after it's done. Before I get started on how to create the reflected image, I'm going to use my Tim Holtz design ruler to draw a horizontal line. This will help me gauge the position of the T-Rex on the shore as well as in the water. Then I'll move him to the line and stamp him twice with VersaFine pigment ink. I want this main image to be as solid as possible, so that's why I've stamped it twice. Now for the reflection. What I need to do is create a mirror image of the T-Rex and stamp that in the water. The way I do that is use a solid stamp that is big enough to accommodate the image. I'm using this mirror block by Paper Smooches. It was originally sold on its own as a mini stamp, but that was retired, and now the exact same stamp is offered in a full 4x6-inch stamp set called Mirror Blocks. You can also use Neat and Tangled's backdrop stamp, which is essentially the same thing. I've linked to both in the supplies below. I've removed the panel and replaced it with a scrap piece of paper. Then I place the mirror block with the stamp surface facing up. I position the T-Rex stamp side down on top of the mirror block. This means the T-Rex image will be stamped onto the mirror block. The other thing about reflections is that they're usually distorted a bit, depending on the angle of the viewer and the angle of the sun and also the movement of the water. I want my reflection to look realistic, so I'm going to stretch out the T-Rex stamp before I stamp it. This is the great thing about using a large photopolymer image like this. It has a lot of flexibility. I place the T-Rex on the mirror block, close the lid of my MISTI, and then stretch out the T-Rex on the lid, since it will stick nicely and hold that distorted shape. I just have to close the lid to make sure that the image can still be accommodated by the mirror block stamp. It's slightly off now, so I'm going to shift it over and check again. Now that it's centered, I can ink it up, again with VersaFine pigment ink. Once that's done, I lift up the mirror block, place the original panel in the MISTI, and prepare to use the mirror block to stamp the reflection. Keep in mind that the pigment ink dries fairly fast. I had done a test run using Memento dye ink, and it didn't dry nearly as fast. However, the test run gave me a very dark reflection, and I didn't really want that. So the key is to A, stamp the mirror image very fast and transfer it very quickly onto the panel, or B, stamp it twice, which is what I had to do here. Since reflections aren't typically as crystal clear as the real object, it's okay that my stamping is a little off or blurry. I did leave a bit of space between the T-Rex's toes, since I'm going to watercolor some land between him and the water. If I wanted him to be right at the water's edge, I could have stamped the 2 sets of toes touching. And, of course, the beauty of the MISTI stamping tool is that I can stamp everything multiple times in the same spot, as long as I leave the stamp where it is before I'm sure I don't need it anymore. Now I can heat emboss the images with clear embossing powder. After choosing my distress ink colors and smooshing them on my craft sheet, I can start to watercolor the images. I start with festive berries on the coffee cup, then move to scattered straw and hickory smoke. For the T-Rex, I'm using a combination of shabby shutters, peeled paint, and forest moss. I start with shabby shutters and then add bits of peeled paint and forest moss for shadow and dimension. Since I've stamped the reflections stretching out towards the bottom left, the sun is shining from the top right of the panel. I have to keep in mind that the lightest parts of each color will be at the top right sections of the image. The T-Rex took the most time to color, and that's obvious since he's the main image for this card. I just continue to add color until I'm satisfied with the way he's shaded. Then I turn the panel upside down to paint the reflection. The nice thing about this half is that it doesn't have to be as precise as the main image. It's totally okay if it's a little messy or blurry, so this second half was easier and much quicker to color. After the reflection has been colored, I will flip the panel again and put the finishing touches on the T-Rex, like coloring in his teeth and adding some blush to his cheeks. Now I'm ready to paint in the shoreline, grass, and sky. As you can see, I kept the main image above the water much clearer than the reflected image. Now it's time to paint the sky, and I'm using a water flat brush for this. The two colors I'm using are Stormy Sky and Weathered Wood. I flipped the image because it's easier for me to brush towards the right from the edge of an image. When I paint big streaks for a background, I like to do it quickly so the colors don't dry between brush strokes and I don't get noticeable streaks. I use my heat tool to completely dry the panel. After trimming the panel down to 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, I prepare to stamp the sentiment, which reads, "Let's have coffee." I'm also stamping this with VersaFine pigment ink and heat embossing it with clear embossing powder. Then I use 1-inch score tape to adhere the panel to a craft card base and embellish with Studio Katia's gold crystals. I wanted these to represent rocks, and the gold crystals blended in nicely with the brushed corduroy and gathered twigs distress inks. I'm using Studio Katia's awesome glue and a Marvy jewel picker to place the crystals. You'll see the glue smooshing out the sides in some places, but it dries clear so you don't need to worry about it showing. I just got the jewel picker tool and I have no idea how I managed without it. I had another pickup tool, but it wasn't very good. This jewel picker is totally amazing and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's an essential tool if you love to add little embellishments like sequins and crystals to your projects. Now my card is done. Here's the adorable Coffeesaurus and his reflection in the water. He's extended an invitation to a friend, but it's almost as if he's drinking coffee with his own reflection to keep him company. I'm giving away the Coffeesaurus stamp set to a lucky winner chosen randomly from comments left here on this video. There are many generous sponsors and prizes to be given away during this amazing video hop, so be sure to comment for your chance to win any of those prizes. The more you comment, the higher your chances of winning. Comments will close on November 7th, 2018, and prizes will be drawn on November 10th. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe to see more of my videos. As always, you can visit my blog for more details, photos, and a full supply list. Be sure to click on the link below to visit the next amazing designer on this video hop. Thanks so much for watching!